Here we go. Okay, all good. Okay, nice to see you all. Thanks so much for giving up your time this lunchtime. It's not going to be a waste of your time. This is going to be a really interesting. I'm so looking forward to this. So Georgina and I met at one of Danny Wallace's events, didn't we, Georgina? And she's fab. I just love the work she does. And I wanted her to come and speak to all of you, you people, because I know that actually, and I actually had a message this morning from somebody saying how we as VAs and OBMs really struggle to put ourselves front and center of our business because we're so used to the back office operations. So this is like really valuable knowledge that Georgina's going to share with us today. She's going to be talking about, she recognises the VA market and OBM market is saturated, so how our personal brand is important. And she's going to be talking to us about our content and where to show up. So I just think this is exactly what we all need. I'm going to hand you over to Georgina to introduce herself. She is having a bit of Wi-Fi problems, but actually it looks a lot better now, Georgina, than it did. So hopefully we're
Oh,
going
that's good.
to
Me
hand
and
over to you.
tech don't mix. I need to get better at tech. Okay. Right. Shall I share my screen? Hello, everyone. Sorry. This is what the weird Wi-Fi stuff's done to me. It's disoriented me. Yeah, let me share my screen with you, and then uh is this the right one?
Looks like
Can you
something.
see can you see anything?
It's coming, I think.
Okay.
Oh, it says to me double click to enter full screen mode. Is that saying it to anybody else?
Yeah, it says that to me.
For God's
Oh,
sake, honestly, I'm so this is me all over. I do these all the time, and every single time I'm like, what am I doing?
it's a discovery.
It's saying, yeah, it's and I actually do not have a tech VA. Um,
Well, maybe we can
okay,
do a skill swap,
let me try.
Georgina.
Perhaps that might be something I need. It's saying that my okay, let me stop this and try it again. Oh God. One thing I do talk about is that you don't need to be perfect because you don't, and you can't be anyway because it doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
I'm demonstrating that.
Ain't that the truth?
Okay, let me try doing that again. Uh, okay, right, share. How's
Yay. Yay.
Can you now see what you need to see?
It says so I can see your slides, but I've got a window in front of it. Do you need to just click that or enter full screen mode, it says.
How's that?
Still the same at the moment. Is it the same for everybody else, or is it just me?
Yeah, I think it just needs to hit the cross maybe.
Oh yeah. Hit the cross up on that window.
I mean it looks right for me. What about if I go through? Can you change it? Can you see it?
No, nothing
No.
changing at the moment.
Oh, right, okay.
Click to exit full screen. I wonder why it's having this full screen issue.
I don't know. It doesn't ever do this.
Anybody got any bright ideas what it might be?
You'll be happy to know that this training is not going to take a full hour at all. So we
I
don't have to
think
worry
try
about
doing that again, but rather than hit the full screen, just hit the cross in the top right hand corner, and that might just cancel it out.
right. Let me try this again. Share, share,
I've
share.
never seen that. I'm just going to Google it whilst you're doing that.
Yeah, I don't really understand why it's doing this because I can normally do it without messing around on here for hours.
Yeah, just hit rather than hit that cross. I was going to suggest because then you
Yeah,
just
I'm not
because
sure Georgina can see that though.
oh,
Oh,
that's it. You got it.
that's it.
What can you actually see? Can you see the
Now we
Yeah.
can see your full screen. Can you hit present now? Present
yeah,
up in the
let
top
me have
right. Yeah. Present.
Full screen.
Oh, it's because you've got presenter view. Go back. I think go
Yeah.
present full screen. Try that. Close that window again. Whatever you did before to get rid of that, close that window. Go back to, you're in Canva, aren't you?
I'm in
Yeah.
Canva.
Yeah, hit present.
Okay. This is great, isn't it? Brilliant first impression.
Don't worry. Hit present in the top right, that's it. And then
Right.
see these circles, present
Yep.
full screen. That's it. Try that. And now try present.
Right. Is that now? Can you see what I'm trying to show you?
I don't know. I can still see, hit present again. I can still see present. Ah,
So
that's it.
Okay.
There we have it.
Right. And can you now see me flipping between all the screens? This is just so confusing.
No.
Oh,
I think it's just really slow, isn't it? I think it's happening just a few seconds
yeah, I
later.
don't know.
I
I
think
mean, it
that's what
might. Okay, I'm just going to stop it temporarily because this is
Tell you
just
what,
you
go
guys.
back to where you were in Canva and let us just see the other slides. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind if you see all the slides, but it's just I don't. Every time I do this, it seems to work after a minute or so because it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. What might work better is
What
if I
about
just
if you share the link to the presentation to me and I share the screen?
yeah, that might work a bit better because then you can
Because my Wi-Fi is better than yours.
click
Well,
through.
at the moment. Sorry about this, people. The
Yeah, I'm so
gremlins
sorry.
have got us.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
So is that, if you click anywhere on there, does it not let you move a thingy forwards? That's it, click there.
I think it does.
Oh, there you go, it's working.
So
That's it.
does that is that okay then?
Yeah,
Can you actually see that?
yes, we're good.
Right, fine. It's just now because I need the notes. I've got notes as well. I've got really bad brain fog. I've got notes that I need to sort of that prompt me. So I'm just hoping that as I go through, you can all kind of yeah see what I'm talking about. I don't know. Okay. I mean, we may as well just get
Let's
started
just dive in. Yeah, let's just get on.
because it's yeah, it's going to get late. As you may have gathered from the multiple times I've been trying to show you these slides, this is about content that converts. It's for VAs and OBMs, such as yourselves. And yeah, I'm just going to take you through, well, the idea of building up a personal brand because that's something that we all need, even though a lot of the time I don't think people realize that we all need it. And when I say people, I'm talking specifically about us online service-based business owners, but VAs and OBMs specifically. So a little bit about me. I'm not going to bore you. That's me there. And I've been a copywriter now for over 13 years. And I've been writing for loads and loads of different companies, small business owners, entrepreneurs, some massive corporations that you know, some that you don't, some online names that you probably will have heard of as well. So yeah, pay attention. As I'm talking about the personal brand stuff, some of it you might be thinking, yeah, well, I know all this, but hopefully I'm going to put a bit of a different spin on it so that you do kind of feel like you're getting more from me rather than just, like stuff you can just Google and find out for free, basically. So when I talk about having a personal brand, this is not just about branding as in having a logo, having like a pretty looking website, having brand colors, all of that stuff. It's really about niching yourself. So I know that in the VA world with I started off when I came onto the online scene. properly about 6 years ago when I went full-time with my business. I sort of dabbled in VA stuff because I wasn't really sure where to start. And I thought, oh, I could be a VA that specializes in copy. Maybe that's what I need to do. What I recognized straight away is that there were so many VAs, so many OBMs as well. And now, 6.5 years later, there are even more, especially since COVID. I'm not sure how many of you have just started up, how many of you have been doing this for ages, but you'll have noticed that there are so many more VAs around and OBMs around. And at this point in time, for any business owner, but especially in a field that is massively saturated, such as VAs and OBMs, that personal brand is so important. If you don't have a personal brand, then you're going to basically disappear into the abyss of all the other VAs and OBMs that are out there. So yes, it's important to niche your services if you choose to, but it is also about niching yourself. And having a personal brand means that people recognize you, and they don't just recognize you for what you do and what you can offer them. They recognize you for you. They recognize you as a brand. Just bear with me 1 second while I try and get these notes up, because I made some really good points when I was preparing it, and now I'm like, oh, I don't want to miss any of this out. I'm trying to get them up on my phone so that I don't mess up this. Okay, so with personal branding, it's all about consistency, basically. And it really is your lifeline when you're in an industry such as yours. And actually, it's the same in my industry as well, because copywriters are everywhere. You can search copywriter and thousands will come up. Personal branding has taken quite a big shift in the last few years, unlike corporate branding, which does focus heavily on like values and mission and vision and that sort of stuff. Your personal brand is way more intimate. It really adds that kind of human touch to your professional persona, if you like. And it makes your services way more relatable, and it makes your business approach more transparent, which is what you need. You need to be transparent. You need to be authentic. You need to be real. It's not about having this like perfectly curated brand, as you'd have seen of me for the last 15 minutes messing around with trying to figure all this stuff out on here. So every single piece of content that you put out there, whether it's an email, whether it's a post, that really, really needs to echo your personal brand. That's where your brand voice comes in. So when you have a consistent brand voice, which I'll talk to you more about in a minute, this just ensures that your messages resonate more profoundly with your audience. It makes sure that you're building up that familiarity and trust, which is really important. I mean, you guys will already know that trust is imperative, especially in your field, because the people that are working with you are trusting you to get right into the behind the scenes of their business. So while you do decide and sort of guide how you want your brand to be seen, it's that actually the perception of your audience that cements that. So what I mean by that is, yes, you decide like, this is how I want my brand to be seen, but is that actually how it's being seen by your audience? That's kind of like a background into what personal branding really means. It's basically about being recognizable. So yes, I know that as a VA or an OBM, you're probably told that you need to have a niche, or not even necessarily a niche in services, but a niche in who you help, that kind of thing. And it is often preached as like the golden rule. And yeah, like if you do find a niche, then you're more likely to find your market. But we do need to peel back a layer, because niching, while it does really sort of define your target audience and it does streamline your services, on its own, that isn't enough. And it is that personal brand that really amplifies your presence and puts you far ahead of the competition. It's like your signature. It's what makes you you. And it takes you from just another service provider to a full-on brand, which is really crucial, because the more individual you are and the more unique you are in such a saturated field, the easier it's going to be for you to find clients, the easier it's going to be for you to stand out, the easier it's going to be for you to be recognized. So I'm just going to give you like a really, really basic example, because sometimes the way that I expect, I'm great at writing when it comes to speaking. Sometimes I'm like, oh, am I making sense? If we imagine we've got two VAs or two OBMs, but we'll go with the VA example. You both specialize in social media management, and you niche in health and wellness coaches, for example. So there's one VA who presents themselves as a great social media expert. They bang on about their services all day, and you know exactly what they do, but that's it. That's basically it. You know that they're a VA who specializes in helping health and wellness coaches with social media. You've got the other one here who presents themselves as a full brand, a full sort of full circle brand. She or they infuse their brand into their work. So they share their journey, their passion for wellness. Sometimes they might share some, controversial opinions or divisive opinions. For example, that she has a dog, that she loves makeup. I don't know, completely random, just stuff that you know about this person. So when you think about these two VAs that have the same niche and the same kind of services, the one with the brand, with the dog and the makeup, that's going to resonate more with potential clients, because they're presenting themselves as a human being. So it's not just, hello, here's my services, do you want to buy them? Because when you have that really sort of strong and distinct brand, it works. It makes you way more relatable. It makes you more recognizable, and it can actually reduce the need to niche so much with your services, because you're known for being you. So your approach, your voice, your way of positioning things is recognizable, and people start recognizing you and seeking you out for that personal brand, and not just the expertise, not just the services. So I'm not saying here like, oh, you have to abandon your niche. You like, not at all. If you want to niche in a certain thing, continue to do that. But when you have got that powerful personal brand, the pressure to narrow down that niche does become less restrictive. And it allows you to just be like way more flexible with your offerings. And you don't lose your appeal or dilute your message. You actually make it stronger. You can expand your services, or in a couple of years you might want to add a new umbrella to your services, and you can then pivot more easily if you want to. And you're able to do that more easily because your clients they trust you, not just what you do, if this makes sense. By the way, I'm going to let you ask questions at the end, because I know that some of this might be like, what the hell is she talking about? But ultimately, the whole point of having a really strong personal brand as a VA or an OBM is so that you become unforgettable and irreplaceable in a field where basically you are forgettable and irreplaceable. Same with me as a copywriter. There are so many of us. And when you've got that really strong personal brand, it doesn't just enhance your visibility, it ensures that you're remembered, that you're preferred, that you're recognized. So basically, while niching does help you specify what you do, your personal brand conveys who you are and why you do it, and it makes you memorable, which is very, very important. Okay, so here I will talk to you about this QR code in a minute. Don't scan it yet. The key to standing out and therefore growing your audience, because it is partly a numbers game, lies not just in what services you offer, but how you actually present them through your personal brand. And this is especially important in email marketing, where your hottest leads and sales will materialize. And I'm about to talk to you about this. People always get a bit like, oh, when I start talking about email marketing, because they think, oh my God, it's so complicated. There's so much to do. But the reason that you need an email list is because it's by far, like completely by far the easiest way to make sales. The people on your email list are there, they're ready, they've actually asked you to contact them. The people on your social media are just scrolling, like they're not looking specifically for you. When someone gets an email from you, they open that email and they read it. They know that they've said to you, please contact me. I've worked with and spoken to a lot of VAs and OBMs who've told me like, oh, you know, I feel like my content's too boring or it's too general. And in a field that is driven by like operational or like behind the scenes support, it can feel more difficult to create content that grabs attention and feels really personal to your audience. But unfortunately, we don't have a choice. We need more people in our audience if we want to make more sales. And these need to be the right people. They can't just be like randomers. If you specialize in helping business coaches with their tech, then there's no point in adding a load of like energetic healers to your audience, for example. I mean, you can have them. They might know business owners that need business coaches who need tech, but you want to, you know, you want to focus more on the people that are actually going to give you money. And the easiest way to grow your audience with those right people is by creating a really useful lead magnet that they're gonna download for free in exchange for giving you their email address. So in terms of what your lead magnet should be, there aren't really any real rules, other than the fact that it needs to give them a glimpse into what it might look like to work with you, to hire you, or to use your services. It really isn't enough these days to repurpose generic content. It was a few years ago. I did that. A lot of people did that and it was fine. But now it can't be. You have to put in a load more effort because the competition is much higher. And I don't want to sound negative when I say that, but I'm just being real. Like the competition is huge out there. So your lead magnet needs to really meticulously be tailored to reflect the quality and the depth of the services that you offer. Just because it's free doesn't mean that it should be rushed or low value. It should solve a real problem or fulfill a specific need that your ideal client faces. It needs to demonstrate your capabilities and your insights. And if you're not sure what your freebie should be, if you're not sure what your ideal client wants, then ask them. You can ask people that you already work with. You can do a post on your profile. There is no shame in asking if you're not completely sure. If you don't know something, you don't know something. And the best way to find out something you don't know is to ask, and ask the right people. So while the content of the lead magnet should be, you know, concise, you don't need to be creating some like 50-page ebook or anything like that. You do want to ensure that it delivers a tangible outcome or a quick win for your audience. And it doesn't need to be groundbreaking. It doesn't need to transform their entire life or their business. That's impossible. But something that's going to give them kind of like oh, wow, this actually worked. And, you know, I'm happy in the Q&A bit at the end, I'm happy to, if a couple of you have some ideas, I'm happy to sort of brainstorm them with you. When you do something that actually gives them a quick win or a tangible outcome, you're then setting the tone for the value that you provide. And most people don't do this. Most people's lead magnets are crap. Like you'll download it and it will just be something that you could have Googled. And that really now is just not enough anymore. Now onto this QR code on the screen. The name of your lead magnet is crucial because that acts as a gateway to potential engagement. So it needs to be compelling, it needs to be specific, and it really needs to highlight what they're going to get. It needs to highlight the unique value proposition of that content, of that freebie. So you need a powerful title that directly influences the decision to engage with you and to download it. So if you scan that, you will go onto my website, or you can go onto that link that I've written on the screen there, and download my own freebie, which is how to, it's really meta, it's how to name your freebie basically. And I highly recommend that you use that because there's been about 800 people that have downloaded it so far and they all love it. And it's really useful. And I've actually put, you know, effort into making it. So hopefully you'll see, you know, it doesn't look particularly pretty. It's just a standard PDF. It doesn't look like, wow, this is amazing, but I'm not a graphic designer, so it doesn't need to, but the actual content is good. So in terms of actually promoting the lead magnet, this should be as rigorous as any of your paid services. Something I will always say until the day that I die is that just because something is free doesn't mean that people are going to be falling over themselves to download it. You need to make sure that you're treating it as though it's a paid for offer. So regularly feature it in your social media posts, put it in your blog posts if you have a blog, include it on your emails, like in the footer of your emails, at the end of your emails, if you use your email marketing like you should be. Talk about it when you're networking with people. If someone asks you what you do, if you're at a networking event, say, well, I'm a VA and I specialize in tech, and I actually have a free download here. It's 5 quick changes you can make to your email marketing tech to make you not waste as much time. That's a really badly worded title, but it's that kind of thing. So when you're really consistent with promoting it, it doesn't just increase your visibility, but it reinforces the perceived value of that freebie. If people are always seeing you talking about it, they're going to think, oh, this is actually probably really good, I should probably download it. Just a note on the content of your lead magnet. Using AI is fine. Everyone uses it now. It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And ChatGPT has been a lifesaver for so many people that aren't particularly in love with writing. However, please do not just copy and paste, because it's extremely obvious. All the language sounds exactly the same. I'm sure that you already know this. And I don't mean to sound patronizing, but it's something that I've noticed with a lot of my clients. They'll come to me and they'll say, can you rewrite this? Because I've written this and I thought it was great, but no one wants it. So then I rewrite it and I'm like, well, that's because you're using words that you've never used before. You're using words that are only from ChatGPT because now they're everywhere. So that's just a note on AI. I personally don't have an issue with it, but you do want to make sure that it meets your quality standards. Otherwise, it's just really obvious. And you want to accurately represent the caliber of your brand, don't you? So now, the landing page of your lead magnet. You need to be writing a landing page that mirrors the sophistication and the appeal of like the sales page for your most expensive offer, for example. I'm not saying that it needs to be as long. It doesn't need to be as long. And I'm not, if you don't have sales pages yet, that's fine. I'm going to give you a really basic sort of formula to follow for the landing page for this lead magnet that you're hopefully going to go out and create. The effectiveness of your landing page is going to directly influence your ability to convert sort of casual visitors into leads and therefore into potential clients. And like I said before, just because it's free does not mean that everyone's 100% going to download it. You need to give them a reason. Your landing page for this lead magnet, for this freebie, is the first substantial interaction that potential clients have with you if they've never come across you before. So this means that the copy on this page needs to encapsulate the essence of your personal brand. It needs to be persuasive, it needs to be concise, it needs to tell them what they're going to get from downloading this lead magnet. It's not just about informing them, it's about converting them. So the initial engagement on this landing page is going to set the tone for all future communications that you have with them. So here's a really simple formula to follow for this landing page. I'll make sure that you have a copy of all these slides, or I think hopefully Paula will be able to give you one, or I'll figure it out, so that you're not having to like scribble these down, or you can screenshot it or whatever. So your headline for this landing page, it needs to grab attention. It needs to really clearly state the value of the freebie, of the lead magnet. So it needs to compel the visitor to read on. For example, instead of having a generic like download my free guide to XYZ, you want to have something that really leads with value. So I used a headline. There's a headline that I used on a recent client's landing page for a lead magnet that she uses, which is basically a PDF that sums up all the key points and takeaways out of her 10 favorite business books. So the title for that heading on the landing page was "Why Read for Hours When You Can Master the Strategies from the Best Business Books in Just 2 Minutes." So in that title, you immediately understand what the freebie is about, and it makes you want to read more. You know, if you don't have hours and hours and hours every week to sit there reading business books, of course you're going to think, oh, I can just learn from this, you know, this free download. Your subheadline comes underneath the headline, and it supports the headline by adding a little bit more detail about what the visitor will gain. So that's your chance basically to like nudge them closer to giving up their email address, because that's what you want. That's where that's the value. The email address is the valuable thing here. So keep it focused on the benefits, not just the features. So for this business book PDF, the subheadline reads, "Forget spending hours with your nose in a book when you'd rather be working on your business. 2-minute takeaways gives you the game-changing strategies from the top 10 business books faster than you can finish your morning coffee." So it tells you exactly what you're going to get. It's really clear. And that whole like faster than you can finish your morning coffee, obviously it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. It depends how quickly you drink your coffee. But it's kind of, you know, it's saying this is fast. Like you're not going to have to sit there for days on end reading all these books. Like you can just grab this PDF, learn the main things, and then perhaps you might read the books afterwards. The next part on the landing page is your body copy. So this is like, sorry, I've got a really itchy nose. I'm not picking it. Your body copy focus is, it needs to be focused on clarity and brevity. So outline what the lead magnet covers, but more importantly, much more importantly, how is it going to help that the reader, the visitor to your landing page? So you want to be using bullet points to break down complex information into little digestible and compelling sentences. Each point needs to reinforce the reasons to download this lead magnet. So you need to focus on solving specific problems or addressing particular needs that resonate with your target audience. The most important part of the landing page in an argument, I mean, I argue it is anyway, not everyone will agree, but it's the call to action. If you don't have a call to action on there, then they're not going to know how to get this freebie. You're not going to then receive their email address and you're just going to lose them. So the call to action needs to be unambiguous and action oriented. So it needs to have something that's really simple to understand. Click here to download your free guide now. Like it seems really obvious, but the amount of people, the amount of pages that I've been on that don't have a call to action, and I'm like, okay, if you're going to make me look for it, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to move on. That's, you know, that's how people work. If you make it more difficult for them than it needs to be, then you have lost them. And then just at the end, where they put in their email address, you need to give them a little bit of reassurance. In the UK, I don't know if any of you are based out of the UK, but in the UK, by law, you need to have a GDPR statement, and any good email marketing platform is going to provide you with one of these. But I like to also add a short note about privacy. Like I think I have something like, I respect your privacy. I'm never just going to spam you or something like that. And you can always unsubscribe. That just builds trust and it kind of adds a more human touch. So yeah, I think it's important to add that. I think that is that for the landing page. I mean, you just need to remember that the effort that you put into it is going to affect its conversion rates, basically. Just because it's free doesn't mean it should lack the persuasive power of your paid services. And every single interaction that you have with your audience needs to reflect the excellence, the value, the integrity that you bring to the table. So yeah, just make sure basically that you're putting the effort in, because when you put effort in, you're going to get the results that you want. Okay. God, this laptop is so slow. Right. Once you've got your lead magnet, you've got your landing page written, they're going to click download. But what happens after they click download? This is where so many people drop the ball. They just send out a generic email that's like, here's your download, bye. But not you, because I want you to make sure that every interaction with your audience counts. So once someone has signed up for your lead magnet, they are at their peak interest. They've just directly acted on their curiosity about your services, about you as a brand. And this means that they are a hot lead. This means that they are ripe for further engagement here and now. So what you need is a really solid nurture sequence that not only thanks them, but entices them further into your business ecosystem. So for a nurture sequence, you want somewhere between like 3 to 5 emails that you send out daily or every other day after you've sent them the free download. I know that some of you might now be thinking, oh my God, that's too often, every day or every other day. No, it's not too often. They've explicitly given you permission to contact them, so utilize it while they're at their hottest. The worst that can happen is that they unsubscribe. It's not that deep. People unsubscribe all the time. It's not personal. And even if it is personal, it doesn't matter. And just don't look at who unsubscribes. I never look. I know that people do, and I just don't look. I don't know who does it. I don't care. So we're going to now go through a formula for a nurture sequence that's going to turn those very new but still quite hot leads into prospects, and then prospects into clients. So the first email is your welcome email, as I've mentioned. So it's not just a delivery vehicle for the lead magnet. It's your first real introduction. So you don't just want to give them the download link and be like, yeah, see you later, bye. You want to give them a glimpse into your world. So you want to thank them for downloading the guide and also briefly introduce what they can expect from you. So you could say something like, oh, I'm really thrilled that you to share these insights with you. Over the next few days, I'm going to take you deeper into how we can turn these strategies into real results for you. That's really vague how I've said that. And you're going to want to write something that's obviously, you know, you can use that as a little template, but you want to write something that's more sort of tailored to what you actually do. And then the next day or 2 days after, it doesn't really matter. Some people don't want to do it every day. I do it every day. I have a 5-day email welcome sequence. If you want to leave it a day and then do it the day after, that's fine. The next time you email them, email 2, you want to send them an email to ensure that they've actually had a chance to read or to download the lead magnet. The amount of people, and I'm sure that you've all done it, and I've done it myself, I still do it all the time, the amount of people that download something or they sign up for something and they never actually use it is crazy. Like the amount of people that do this. And it's, again, not a personal thing. It's just because people are busy. So you want to email them again and ensure that they've actually had a chance to look at it. So ask them directly for their thoughts and provide a small sort of additional little piece of content or a tip that kind of builds on that freebie. So it shows your expertise and your commitment to providing value. For example, you could say something like, how did you find the tip that I included on page 5? Many of my clients have seen great results such as XYZ from implementing this. And you can even put something like, you know, here's another secret strategy that I haven't included in this lead magnet, but it complements it perfectly. So you're giving more free value and you're helping them to see exactly what they're potentially going to get from working with you. And it is a really good way of making sure they have actually clicked download, because like I said, a lot of people forget, or they just, you know, they have all the best intentions and they never actually follow through. Third email is when you're going to start going a little bit deeper. So you want to educate them about a particular problem that they might be facing and how you can solve it for them. So here you want to use like a case study or a testimonial for credibility. So you might say something like, many of the business coaches that I've worked with struggle with X, and here's how I've helped them overcome this. And then you just, you know, you don't need to go into a massive like rambling diary entry about it, but just demonstrate that you not only know their problems, but you can solve them as well, because that's music to the ears of someone who is seeking a service provider. The last thing they want to feel like is that their potential VA or OBM doesn't know the challenges that they face. So get in there before they even have to think about telling you. Show them that you really understand. In that 4th email now, which comes a day after, a couple of days after, they're going to be getting more familiar with your expertise. So introduce your services more directly, and really importantly, explain how they can take the next step. So say something like, if you're ready to go beyond the strategies that you've seen in the freebie and see results such as XYZ, let's talk. Here's what X, my service, can do for you. And please do not forget to explicitly tell them how they can work with you and what to do if they're interested. I know that it sounds really obvious, but people need it to be spelled out to them because, like I said, people are busy. We don't always have time to search through a website for like a contact form or a call link or whatever. So make it as easy as possible for them. And then the final email needs to be a direct call to engage further. It needs to be really, really sort of to the point. You don't need to go into masses of detail, but just say, look, let's get to the point. You've downloaded this, so you're having an issue with this. I can help you. Here's how you can learn more. Here's how you can talk to me. And then give them a link. So the whole goal of this nurture sequence isn't just to inform them and to educate them, but it's to try and really build a relationship. And remember, we want this to be on brand with the rest of you. So consistency in your communication style is really important here. It solidifies your personal brand. It makes every email feel like a continuation of the conversation. I am not going to go massively deeply into these because I am aware that we are running out of time. It's just the psychological principles of a nurture sequence. So you don't need to sort of really know them, but it's just knowing that there's a reason behind what I've told you to do. You want them to feel like, you want them to reciprocate. You want them to feel like you're a leader because, you know, they trust you, because what you're saying is, you're saying it with chest. I love saying that. It basically means that you're just saying it, you're committing to it. Like, I am the best at what I'm doing here. You want them to commit to opening more emails from you. You want them to anticipate the next email as well. You don't want them to forget about you, and they want to be part of your community. You want them to feel like they're excited to hear from you again and again and again. So yeah, like I said, I'm not going to massively go into that because we don't really need to, but it's just kind of an idea of why you're sending a nurture sequence. Everyone that I speak to who doesn't already utilize email marketing get freaked out because they're like, how do I make them sound like me? Well, you write them as you speak. You need to make sure that you're consistent with what you're putting online. You need to make sure you're consistent with how you actually speak if you deliver trainings, if you get on a discovery call, that kind of thing. You need to make sure that your brand voice is the same everywhere. So if you're a little bit edgy, or if you've got like a good sense of humor, bring that into your emails. If you're cheeky, be cheeky. If you're quite serious, if you're quite professional and sort of, you know, maybe more corporate, if that's your ideal client and that's how you know that you need to be, then be that. Like the sign off, for example, in my emails is always like, lots of love, Georgina, kiss, which, you know, some people might cringe at that and think, oh, I would never put a kiss on a work email, but I do, because that's just how I am. It's just a way of making sure that it feels like it's you, because there is nothing worse than reading something and thinking, oh, this person doesn't sound like them. Like, I know that this isn't them. And that's another reason why, if you do use AI, which is fine, but just make sure you're editing it so it actually sounds like you. A really good tip to see if you are indeed writing how you speak is to physically read your emails out loud. Read them to yourself or read them to someone that knows you really well, and just check that it sounds like you. If any of you are on my mailing list and you read my emails, then you'll know that I speak exactly as I write. The worst thing that you can do ever, if you want to make money, is confuse your audience, because a confused person does not buy. They will just forget about you, move on to the next. So there is, you massively need to be consistent. And you don't have to be formal either at all. You can do whatever you want in your emails. It's your brand, it's your business. Lots of my emails and my posts talk about cats and margaritas, because I love cats and margaritas. They've got nothing to do with business, but it's just kind of like, it's not like a big part of my brand, but they're just little things that I sprinkle in now and again because it's memorable. People know that I like cats. People know that I love margaritas and tequila. And the more that your emails feel like a one-on-one conversation, the more engaged your subscribers are actually going to be, and they're going to reply to you. If they do reply to you, please reply back. You don't need to reply back immediately, but just let them know that you're actually reading their responses. The bigger your list grows, the more difficult that's going to be. But when you're starting out, please make sure you don't just ignore people if they respond to you. because it takes a lot for someone to respond to a mailing list email and say like, oh, I love that, by the way, or can I ask you a question? If you feel like it's quite a lot of effort to write your marketing emails and you're spending more time on them than you want to, then that's because it isn't a quick job. It's not something that you can just whip up and send out in 5 minutes. You do need to be putting the time and the effort into making these sound right. The more you do it, the easier it gets. But you do need to work on it, because trust me, your email list is the best place to sell. 100% the best place to sell. As I've already covered, people are specifically asking you to contact them from signing up to your email list. Okay, I'm not going to keep you for too much longer. We are almost at the end. We'll be happy to hear. But I just want to quickly touch on sales posts on your social media. I'm not gonna go through like how to write a sales post, because if you go on my profile or you sign up to my mailing list or wherever, you will learn how to do that, because I talk about it really freely. But I just want to talk about calls to action. If there's one thing that you take away from today, frequency and clarity are everything when it comes to making more sales through your content. So while you're still building your reputation, posting daily about your services is ideal. I know that sounds like a lot, but when you're trying to establish your brand and get really known in your industry or your niche, repetition is your friend, your best friend, in fact. So make sure that you're always reminding people about who you are, what you offer, who you help, and how you solve your ideal clients' problems. The average person is bombarded with so many posts every single day. So they're not going to think, oh God, this woman or this man or this person is constantly writing the same thing. You need to keep showing up. You really do, because consistency builds trust and it keeps you top of mind for your potential clients. But what makes a sales post actually sell? It's the call to action. So please remember, DM me for details is not a strong call to action. And if any of you are using this at the moment, you're not on your own. And I have done it. I still do it now and again when I forget. The reason this doesn't work very well because DM me for details basically puts the burden of action on your audience and leaves that next step too vague. People are busy, they scroll quickly, they sometimes don't even read right to the end. And if you do not make it crystal clear what they need to do, then you've lost them. So a really strong call to action guides them, it removes hesitation, and it makes it really easy for them to take action. So if you're casually scrolling through your feed while you're waiting for a coffee at Starbucks, someone's intrigued by you're intrigued by what you're reading, but then you say DM me for details, it's like friction. Immediately, you have to stop what you're doing, you have to open a message, you have to figure out what to say. Most people just don't bother. So a powerful call to action is really specific, it's direct, and it's action oriented, because it tells people exactly what to do and what they're going to get in return. So for example, click the link below to learn more about X now and start seeing results in as little as 1 week. That's a really good call to action. Or download my freebie about X instantly by clicking here and entering your email, link below. Really simple. It doesn't need to be jazzy. It doesn't need to be like uniquely written or anything. It just needs to be clear. They need to tell your audience exactly what action to take and why they need to take it. What is the rationale behind clicking on this link? What benefit are they going to receive? So you're making their decision process as simple as possible, which then in turn increases your conversion rates, which is what we all want. So a great call to action is not about testing interest. It's about converting interest into action. So you need to be clear, direct, focused on the outcome. You're not asking them to do something, you're guiding them towards that natural next step. You need to have it in your mind, like they're already going to take that step. I just need to tell them what to do to actually get there. And also just a note on inclusivity. I know that people love to talk about inclusivity as like a buzzword thing at the moment. But we do need to take this into consideration, especially where there are more neurodivergent people who are identifying as that, being diagnosed as that. For some people, the thought of DMing for someone for details is just intimidating or massively unappealing. A lot of people need time to digest information on their own terms without the pressure of immediate interaction. Like that, I mean, I'm not necessarily neurodivergent myself, but I get this feedback a lot from people that I work with who are. And it's just something that I felt was quite important to point out, because it is 2024 and we do need to adapt our marketing strategies to be a little bit more inclusive and considerate of the different ways that people engage with content. So, you know, just something to bear in mind there. And then confidence, just before I let you go. This is going to be really like, you're going to think, oh, this is really obvious, but there is quite an interesting spin that I put on this. Successful content writing and copywriting lies on confidence. It's not just about the words, it's about the energy behind the words as well. I'm not particularly woo, but there is some kind of a little bit of woo probably that goes into this. When you're actually confident in how you're writing and what you're writing, it doesn't just reflect your belief in what you're offering, but it actually convinces others to believe in it as well. So, you know, I live in London. There are, I don't know how many people live in London, but there's loads. And there are going to be tens of thousands of copywriters, I think. I have carved out a niche for myself. I'm not just another copywriter, I'm a known brand. And it's because I write with confidence. It's because I am confident. I have a solid personal brand. I don't just offer copywriting services. I promise a transformation through words, fearless words. And I deliver that transformation when I work with my clients. That is not about boasting, but it's just about, I know my value and I showcase it boldly. And that is what I need you to do as well. When you write with certainty, it comes through in your words. Your audience can sense the confidence. And when they can feel that you're confident, they're going to be way more likely to trust what you're saying. They're going to think, oh, they know what they're talking about. Maybe I need to listen. The online world, obviously, is really, really crowded, especially now. And you need to do more than just speak. You need to speak with conviction. Because people gravitate towards people that aren't just, you know, loud, but clear and sure of their message. You don't need to be the loudest in the room. I'm not. When I'm at an event, for example, I'm very introverted. I will happily just sort of sit there and listen to people and let people come to me rather than me go to them. But when I do make a connection with someone, oh my God, I've just realized how I said that makes me sound like I think I'm famous. I don't mean it in that way. I don't necessarily get up and start walking around the room. Hello, hello, hello. I would rather just, you know, I'm more passive when it comes to networking. That's what I meant. But what I'm trying to say is that when I do speak to people, I make sure it counts. So I don't feel the need to be the loudest in the room. I don't feel like I need to be, you know, everyone needs to come and speak to me. I need to be known. I just make sure that when I do speak to people, I'm doing it with confidence. I'm articulating myself. And then when you do that, even when you're writing, you're going to attract clients that respect you, and because they desire that assurance, basically. And these are the clients that don't just want the cheapest option at all. They want the best option. The money doesn't become an issue to them. And yeah, like putting yourself out there can be intimidating. You're exposing your ideas, you're exposing yourself to potential criticism, but confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the mastery of fear. It's about walking with fear. And just like, you know, I mean, I struggle with confidence all the time. I struggle with it in my personal life, in my work. I deal with mental health challenges that have recently become even more difficult than I ever thought they could have done. But the key here is to like really lean into that kind of level of, oh God, you know, this isn't going as brilliantly as I wanted it to, but I'm just going to walk with it anyway. Like the start of this whole training, it's like, what's going on? Why is Canva not working? You know, you just have to make it work, and it is what it is. And I always say it's really not that deep. Like if someone's turned off from me because I couldn't make Canva work, then you're not the right person for me. And it's about being authentic, which I know is really, really overused, but you really have to be authentic. Like you don't have a choice, because when you're not authentic, you're fake, and then the confidence is fake, and then the brand is fake, and everything's fake. So anyway, when you're struggling with confidence with your writing, please just try to remember, you know what you're talking about. Make sure your audience knows that you know what you're talking about as well. Don't hedge your bets with like maybes and mights. You need to be really clear, really direct with your claims and your calls to action, and tell them exactly what they need to do and why. Let your voice be the voice that they want to, you know, that they need to hear. And show that you understand their hesitations, and then counter those hesitations confidently. So this doesn't just anticipate their concerns, but it also displays that you thoroughly understand what they need, what their challenges are, and demonstrate that you just believe in your services so much that it's like massively contagious like herpes. Like not that I want you all to go around pretending that you've got herpes, but you need to be as contagious as herpes. And the more that you're kind of like obsessed with the idea that you are the best at what you do, the more that people are going to believe you, basically. So yeah, that is the end. I've done it with 3 minutes to spare. I've still got time for a Q&A, by the way, if you guys want to hang around for that. Just a quick note, I've got my debut book coming out on Thursday, which is called Fearless Words. I'm not allowed to show the cover, that's why I've scribbled it out. But I do have a copy of it here, and I'm really tempted to be like, maybe I'll show you at the end of the Q&A if you choose to stick around. I love the cover so much. But yeah, this book is about copywriting. It's not just strategies and tips, because you can get those online. You can just Google them. It's like a manifesto for writing with boldness and authenticity in an online world crowded with half-heartedness, basically. It will be 99p on Kindle for a limited time and £9.99 on paperback. And if you buy it on Thursday, you're going to automatically be entered into a draw to win £1,500 worth of bespoke copywriting from me. So make sure you're connected with me on Facebook and Instagram. Right. You'll be happy to know that I'm not going to bang on about this any longer.
You made it, Georgina. Well done.
I did it.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. I think, I've definitely got some questions, but I'm going to open the floor up to people. But what I particularly wanted to say is that I really want to thank you for your honesty and your transparency and showing your authenticity right there at the end. Because do you know what? It's, as I said right at the beginning, VAs and OBMs, we're so used to being back office that putting ourselves front and center is very uncomfortable for nearly all of us. And I think that you sharing that is just an excellent demonstration of that. You can just, like, I forget your words, something along the lines of walk with the fear, because everybody has got the fear. I mean, I've been doing this 8 years and I still have the fear. You know, I know, no, not everybody does, but the vast majority of us have that fear, and you just have to work through it. So I think that is one of the most powerful things you shared in some ways, because you who show up so well on socials still have, you know, you've shared that vulnerability, that it isn't necessarily easy every day for you.
No, it's not. And that's the thing, like you say, everyone has a fear. If someone tells me that they're just like 100% confident 100% of the time, I just don't believe them. I just don't think it's possible. Unless maybe they're like a psychopath, and maybe they are, but I think most of us are not psychopaths. But do you know what I mean? You just have to accept that sometimes you're not going to feel fantastic. And you've just got to work with it, because like my whole brand name is Fearless Words. And then, as I explain I can't remember which chapter of the book it is, but in one of the chapters, I talk about the fact that fearlessness isn't about not having fear. It's about being like, yeah, I'm scared, but I'm just going to be scared. And I know that people say, like, feel the fear and do it anyway. But it really is about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And you just
totally agree. Yeah. Let's see if anybody else has questions, and if not, I'll come to mine. So feel free to take yourself off mute and come up with any questions, or if you're uncomfortable with that, then put it in the chat. But let's face the fear anyway and come off mute and ask us.
Yeah, maybe.
Hi Lisa, have you got something?
I haven't really got a question. I just wanted to say thank you, and I really enjoyed it. But I'll listen intently. Thank you. It was really great. Really enjoyed it.
Good. I'm glad, because I was scared.
I'm going to be at the front of the queue getting your book and hoping that I win that £1,500 worth of bespoke copywriting. That's for sure. Anybody else got any questions?
I haven't got a question either, but I did just want to echo what Lisa said, that actually sorry, apologies for being a little bit late, but from the moment I joined, I was completely enthralled in what you were talking about. Actually, your comment around speaking from that place of confidence, like, I know I'm good at what I do, but I'm really, really fearful of putting myself out there, even though I know. So actually really grabbing a hold of what I know I'm good at and using that as a foundation for my voice actually really, really resonated. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Do you know what it is that you're actually scared of? Do you have any idea?
I So I'm just setting out on my OBM journey and probably with quite a strong project management bias. I've been in corporate for the last 20 odd years doing project management, and it's that putting myself out there within my existing network as doing something different, and what if it fails and what will people think, and am I don't know, am I almost failing in my career by stepping away from it?
I completely get that. I mean, I was in corporate for 7 years as when I left uni in 2011 and then went straight into copywriting and also had a corporate job. And yeah, when I moved out of that, when I went full time with this in 2018, I was like, oh my God, everyone from this investment bank that I used to work at is going to be like, oh, what the hell does she think she's doing? Who does she think she is? Da, da, da. And it's like, it is really kind of like, ooh, at first. But it does become easier as you do it, which I know sounds like a massive like cop out answer, but you do just have to kind of do it.
Yeah.
There's no trick, there's no hack. I wish there was.
The thing is, I mean, until you get like Lisa Johnson size, where she does get trolled. I mean, we're a long way away from a Lisa Johnson kind of level of success. Well, I mean, no, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for anybody else. But so I think there's this fear of people judging us and maybe saying something that's unkind. But in all honesty, I mean, in the times I've sort of stepped out there and done it anyway, because I had exactly the same fear as well. Nobody died, guess what? It was all right.
World is still spinning.
Yeah.
No one hits the earth. The sun still comes up every day, not that we can always see it. Yeah, no one's going to die from, but then actually I think we do need to have that in mind. Like, yeah, I've been trolled so much. One of the reasons that I don't go on LinkedIn as much anymore is because I was trolled so badly on it. And I don't even know why. Like, I don't really say things that are that kind of wild and out there. But the point is this, right? You could say something as silly as I prefer cats to dogs, because I do prefer cats to dogs. And there's always going to be one person that wants to hunt you down with a pitchfork for saying something like that, or like, oh, I don't really like coffee, I prefer tea. There's going to be someone that takes a massive issue with it. And honestly, it's always, I know it's easy to say, but it is always about them and not about you. And I've done it in the past as well. I've sometimes not been a very nice person, and it's always been a reflection of how I felt about myself. It's never about them. And I think that's just something we have to always sort of remember and learn to be nicer to ourselves, because we're really, really horrible to ourselves sometimes.
It's true. And I think another perspective that really helps me with showing up is because how everybody hates the word sales, and essentially that's what we're out to get, is sales through doing all of this fantastic copy. And I think that the old typical we envisage the cheesy car salesman thing. None of us like to think of ourselves that way, and I reframed it, and I like to think of it as that I'm actually just solving somebody's problem. And when you think of it like that, I mean, we as operators, we want to help people. That's what we actually are born to do. It's innate in us. So if you think about when you're writing your copy, that you're coming from the perspective of like, you want to solve somebody's problem, you want to help them, it's so much easier. And that also then demonstrates the confidence in you being able to deliver your services, which you say you've got elsewhere. And everybody else, I think, is probably the same, to be honest with you. So I think that's always helpful. Just think of it that way and don't feel like you're being the pushy salesperson, and it feels very different.
Yeah, 100%.
I've had a couple of calls with people in the last couple of days, and the theme is the same all the way through. And unfortunately, the couple of people I'm thinking of are not here today, but I'm definitely going to make sure they get this replay, because it's really relevant to those people on the calls. And one said that she is really confident in her ability and her services and the value she can add, but really underconfident to turn up on socials and put herself out there. And the other person said, that who's brand new to this online world, said that authenticity is probably one of her values, but so is privacy. And so she's struggling with how she's going to show up if privacy is so important. So I don't know whether you've got any thoughts about that, Georgina.
So, okay, the first one with the whole like authenticity thing. I'm not a massive believer of like just forcing yourself. Like I do say about working with fear and not letting it dictate, but I also understand that sometimes it does feel paralyzing. So one thing you can do that makes it probably feel a little bit easier about showing up. And I do this on the days where I'm like, if I'm really having a down day, if I'm struggling, or if I'm just not feeling very confident, um, one thing you can do to make sure that you are still visible is simply just when you're scrolling through your social media, if you come across a post that resonates with you, that you agree with, that you want to kind of put your own spin on, comment on it. And that's still a form of content. It's still a form of showing up. Make sure your profile is optimized, obviously. You want to make sure that you're still having people view you, but you don't always have to put yourself front and center. You can sometimes just show up on someone else's post and show that you're still engaging. That sort of engagement is still content. And then in terms of the privacy thing, can you just repeat that again, please, Paula? What they
Yeah, so she's I only had it in a message, and she said that she's not sure how she's going to show up when she's doing work on her values at the moment. She's going through one of my courses, and we're right at the very beginning, and we're looking at the values, and one is like privacy. So she's not sure how that's going to translate, how she's going to show up to win business if privacy is important to her.
I mean, like, okay, so with most of my clients don't like admitting that they've got a copywriter, so I have to keep a lot of them private. But you can still talk about like results and breakthroughs they've had without outing them or making it really obvious who they are. It can feel like, oh God, how am I going to do this without it sort of coming across a certain way? If you want people to see that you are discreet or really good at keeping things private, then obviously you need to be careful. But what I would say is that there are way more people dealing with this than that person probably realizes. A lot of us service providers, especially people, like, imagine if there's like a business coach and they specialize in helping people through something really, really intimate, like, I don't know, grief or personal health struggles, that sort of thing. They're not going to be their plans out there and saying, oh, Jane over here has lost her dog and now she's struggling, and there's a way of talking about things without outing people, and talk about the fact that privacy is important to you. Demonstrate why. Talk about why it's important. Like, if that's one of the values, then talk about it, and people will know. If they're an intelligent person, they will understand that you have to be discreet. I mean, personally, wouldn't put me off working with someone if if they talk about privacy, but then they still talk about client results. It wouldn't put me off at all. I'd think, oh, good, at least they're walking the talk,
Yeah, true, right. So it's just about, well, back to you saying be authentic, so that you can build the trust. And that's absolutely right. I think if I just checked there's no other questions before we get ready to sign off. Has anybody else got anything before that? If you have to go, please feel free to go. Anybody got any questions before we sign off?
Do you mind if I just carry on just a tiny bit on that point, Paula, that you just asked about privacy?
Sure.
So I liked that question because I feel quite connected with that myself. Personally, I'm not very good at social media. I don't really like it for my own personal life. And therefore, in terms of trying to put your business out there, I liked what you said, Georgina, about how part of your authenticity and you being out there is that you're happy to share. And one of the things you mentioned about your branding is that people might know that you like cats or that you like this, and that allows other people to connect with you because you're quite open about that. So maybe a bit like the person Paula was talking about, also how I feel I don't really want, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I should be more open about my lovely dog and the lovely walks I go on, and I don't know, like my family a bit. But then I instantly go, ooh, no, I don't like doing that anyway.
I think, Lisa, it's because so I know Lisa because we're both military spouses, and I think there's an element of being a military spouse that there is a privacy around that because you don't want to be unsafe at any time.
Yeah.
So there's an element of that. But I also am exactly the same, Lisa, and I think partly what it is I think nobody will want to know about my dogs. But they do. This is the weirdest thing. The post that I've had the most engagement on was a post about which way you have the clotted cream on your scone, because I'm from Devon, but I like it the Cornish way. So, how ironic. But I think that's what it is, Lisa, is that it's like there's an element of you think, well, why would anyone want to know about my dog or my dog's walks? But I did another post at the weekend. Unfortunately, our daughter crashed our car and wrote it off. Thankfully, she's okay. But I've had so much feedback from that. People's like want to wait. Yeah, are you okay? Sorry to hear that. I'm glad to hear she's okay. So it's interesting. You share a little bit of your personal life that it isn't. You don't think it's of any interest to people, but it is.
Yeah. So does that mean I should try and
Honestly,
overcome that then?
So yeah,
people are so nosy. They are interested in really boring things. My life itself is actually quite boring. I don't really I'm not like a circus acrobat or anything like that. I just have a really, really cool life. And people are really nosy. I'm personally really, really, really nosy. I love seeing like the boring little things that people do, quite a standard everyday life. So you don't need to talk about, oh, like I've gone on this dog walk and I was so inspired by the nature or anything like that. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe you were, but also just standard things that you do in the day, or little thoughts that you have in the shower, like things like that. People want to know, because the beauty of the mundane is that everyone experiences it, and that's what makes someone feel more connected to you.
So true, so true. Any other thoughts or questions?
Yeah, so I've been looking quite a bit into like marketing and things like that, and how to brand it and the business and stuff. Now, I've come across like two kind of conflicting arguments. So there's one is the personal branding. So it's where you're putting your face out there, you're doing like live stories, things like that, which is something I'm not comfortable with either at all. Like, I'm not a person that would put my face on social media. Like, it's just not me. But then there's like the faceless marketing side of things, which seems to have somewhat taken off quite a bit. Now, can you entwine the two with bringing yourself into it, I suppose, but not actually putting your face on there, if that makes sense? So, I don't know, you wanted to write about you liking your dogs or your cats and things and putting something about them, but then it adds a bit of you into there. I don't know whether, is that something that you can possibly do, or is it a case of you either put yourself out there or you don't? If that makes sense.
I'm going to be the first to say that I don't really buy into the sort of faceless marketing trend. I think it is exactly what it's called, a trend. I don't see it sort of lasting as a kind of an eternal marketing strategy. I do think that this is just my opinion, by the way, and it might be completely wrong, and I don't know what Paula thinks either, but personally it's not something that I massively buy into. But then that is me. I like to sort of see the person behind the brand, and I think a lot of people do like to see the person behind the brand. You can show up without, I mean, I never go live, for example. I think the last live I did was like 3 years ago. I'd like to like do a selfie or something, but I'd never sit there going live. I just don't. It's just not part of what I do. And you don't need to do videos for people to buy into you. But I do think that there's a lot to be said for actually sort of just being a little bit vulnerable. Because don't forget, if you're putting yourself out there as a VA or an OBM, you're going to be very heavily involved in someone's business. They're going to be quite vulnerable as the business owner. So I kind of like to say, like, lead by example a little bit. And again, it's like, start off small. You don't need to be taking selfies all the time, but even just little things, like if you do have a pet, like putting a little picture of them or something like that, maybe just kind of trying to get yourself used to doing it a little bit. I don't know what Paula thinks though.
Yeah. I was going to say more or less the same thing. I'm not a fan of the faceless marketing either, because I don't think we buy into that. As human beings, we like to see a face, don't we? And so I think that we definitely it builds trust that much more quickly because we're buying into that person. We know what we're buying into or not. But then I would also agree with Georgina in that, you know what, if that's how you start off and that's how you feel comfortable to start with, start there. Because to do something is better than to do nothing. And
just to get into the routine of posting something, I
that's
suppose,
what
then,
I would
isn't it?
say. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I was just curious because it's just something that is trending and is out there at the moment. I didn't know whether it was something that you could somewhat combine, especially if you're less confident. But no, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think if anything's positioned as something that's really easy to do and it's going to make you a ton of money, then I would approach it with caution, because nothing.
Oh yeah.
A load of money. And I know that you don't think that. I'm just saying, like, a lot of these faceless marketing people, it's like, really?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we've run over a little bit, but and thank you for those that have been able to stay, and for those of you that are watching on the replay, I'm sure you're all going to get an awful lot from this session, as I fully expected to. I really appreciate it. So I think the thing I took away from it is plenty, but I love the be quietly confident with and speak with conviction, and I think that's a really good place to end. So on that note, I'd like to thank you all for your time, but particularly yours, Georgina, and all of your beautiful slides and all your effort. I'm definitely going to be first in the queue to buy your book.
Look, I'm going to be really naughty, because by the time most people watch this, hopefully it will be after Thursday.
Go on then, share it.
I'm not allowed to do that. No one saw me do that. Don't tell the publisher.
Don't screenshot that.
I'm really bad at keeping secrets, honestly. I'm horrendous. I'll just tell secrets to everyone, so don't tell me any secrets. But that was the book.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be getting that one, that's for sure. I buy it on Audible and I buy it in physical form, so you're going to have 2 purchases from me.
Not on Audible yet, but it is on Kindle.
I'll wait for it then.
Okay, maybe one day I'll sit there reading.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Georgina. Really, really appreciate it. Make sure you all go and put yourself on the wait list for her book in is it Amazon? Will it be? I assume, yeah, Amazon.
Yeah, it's on Amazon on Thursday. If you connect with me on socials, then I'm going to put a post out. If you're on my mailing list, you're going to get an email from me. I will be all up in your grills on Thursday, making sure that everyone buys it, because I really want it to be a bestseller. So
thank you so much. And there's lots of people saying thank you very much, and they've had to run in the chat as well.
Brilliant. I'm glad.
Okay.
I'm sorry about all the weird stuff at the start as well.
Thank you. These things happen. Right. Have a good rest of your afternoon, everyone.
Bye.
Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.